Hey friends, it's Laura. Welcome back to Laura B. Flosstube. Thank you so much for joining me. I am just going to jump right in today. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of my new subscribers and my returning viewers. I'm almost to 2,800 subscribers now, which seems so crazy to me to think that there are that many people that want to see what I'm doing. So that's kind of interesting. I don't have many whips to show this week, but I do have a lot of finishes to show, which I'm super excited about. If you follow me on Instagram, then you probably know what's coming, but I'm going to show you a few other things first. The first thing I want to show you is my Pinker and Pumpkin Saltbox that I finished for June. So this is the Strawberry House. This is a free chart by Melissa at pinkerandpumpkinblogspot.com. You can go and just download the chart for free and stitch it up, and you'll have an amazing little strawberry house. I just love the strawberries and the robins so much. I stitched this on a 28 count Lugana cloth. It was an antique white until I ice dyed it, and I do have an ice dyeing technique tutorial on my channel, so be sure to check that out if you haven't. And then I stitched this with Anchor Floss. To get my Anchor Floss color list, go back to Flosstube 34 or 33, and I show a close-up of those. So that's my first finish. And again, this is the Strawberry Saltbox by pinkerandpumpkinblogspot.com, and it is a free chart. So feel free to go grab that for yourself. I'll put a link below. All right, so my next three finishes come from the Summer Memories book. So I was kind of doing the Red, White, and June stitch along with Fat Quarter Shop, but I didn't choose very many things because I had one stitch that I wanted to get done. So I decided just to choose like 4 items, and I chose all of them out of the Summer Memories book. I finished this land, and this is stringy, but this is on a 28 count wheat Lugana. I am stitching this with Anchor Floss colors, and I believe I also list those in Flosstube 34. So if you're interested in those floss colors, then you can go and look there for those. But this is the first one. This is this land. So excited how this turned out. And I really think I wanted to put this into like a flat fold. I know some of the finishes in the book, most of them are pillows, which are awesome, but I am almost to like pillow overload at this point for my dough bowl. So I think I'm going to do this as a flat fold or something else. I don't know. I don't think it's quite big enough to do as a frame stitch, but maybe. I mean, it's, you know, it's fairly big since it's on a 28 count over 2. So it's like a 14 count. So that's this land. My next finish is the cherry tree. Oh my gosh, I love this little cherry tree so much. And this is also on the 28 count wheat Lugana with the Anchor Floss colors. I could not stop on this little tree. I actually did this in one sitting on a Sunday. Just started it and I was like, oh, this is so cute. I love it. And then I was like, okay, I'll just do the branches and the leaves. And I got those done. And I was like, no, I'll just do the cherries. And I'm like, well, I have the cherries done. I might as well do the highlights too. So I finished this whole little thing in one seating. And I'm so excited with what this looks like. It's so cute. And again, I'm not sure how I'm finishing this yet. Yeah, I don't know. It might end up as a pillow. It might end up as something else. Not sure yet. And then my last finish for Red, White, and June is Brave and Free, or Free and Brave. I'm so sorry. Free and Brave. This is also in the Summer Memories book. That's a book that it's a quilting book and a cross stitch book from It's So Emma with Fat Quarter Shop. You can find it online. I'll put a link below. It's Susan Aki is the designer. So this is again on 28 count wheat Lugana with Anchor Floss. And I just love hot air balloons. I think they're the cutest and so cheery and happy. I love the flowers in the basket. So this was super fun to stitch. Okay, so those are my 4 finishes, but my big finish, oh my gosh. So last July 4th, I started the American Quilters Cross Stitch by Katie Nolan. And I started stitching that just on the 4th of each month. And then I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. So then I was doing the 4th, the 14th, and 24th, and I kept forgetting. So I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. So then I was like, okay, I'll stitch it 3 days a month, and I'll begin around the 4th or the 14th or the 24th. And so that's worked. And then I was like, okay, I've gotta like break this down because I love this stitch and I'm so happy with how it turned out, but I have to be honest, it got a little monotonous as I was stitching because it's all flags. So you have lots of red stripes, lots of white stripes. The blue squares are all different, but the red and white stripes were kind of wearing me out a little bit. But it is finished and I'm so excited to be able to show this. So I have this frame that I swap out what I put in it every so often. And so I just went ahead for now and did the magnets and washers, the washers on the back of my piece to put this in the frame so I can hang it up in the living room. And I love it. It is so cool, right? And I have all my red stripes, all my white stripes. I was so tempted. I asked my husband, I was like, can you really tell that the white stripes are missing in these flags over here? And he just looked at me like, you're crazy, woman, stitch your white X's. So the white stripes got completed too. But all of them have different little quilt block squares in the blue and the red and white stripes. And there are, 20 flags on this. So it's definitely a lot of stitches. But I'm glad that I did it and I'm really happy with how it looks and I am super excited that it's ready and finished for the 4th of July. So that is super fun. So this is going to be hanging in my living room for a while probably because, it'll probably be up through Labor Day to be quite honest because, it's summer and why not, right? So if you live in the US, that makes sense to you. If you don't live in the US, maybe you don't understand that, but But yeah, there is my Quilters American, or American Quilters. See, I keep saying that backwards too. I have done that the entire time. So American Quilters Cross Stitch, Katie Nolan by Count Your Stitches. She has an Etsy shop and then she also is selling her patterns through some online retailers now. So check her out. She has a lot of other cute patterns and I will definitely put a link in the description box below. All right, so believe it or not, that is basically all I have to show you. I have a few things stitchy related to tell you about, but nothing more to show. I did not do anything on Autumn Love by Lori Holt. I did not make any progress on Houses of Peppermint Lane by Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery. I did not make any progress on my Featherweight Stitch by Margaret Lee. So all of those things, if you're interested to see where I'm at, then go a couple floss tubes back and that's where I still am. I'm hoping to focus on some of those in the next couple of weeks. And I just want to share my plans with you with what I'm going to be doing. So starting tonight, I will be going back to my Houses on Peppermint Lane and getting the Cranberry house done. And I just have the borders for that done right now. So, I have a few nights of stitching to get that completed. And then after that, if I have time before the Pinwheel house on the 28th, then I will stitch some on my Featherweight stitch. And I'm putting Autumn Love to the side because in July, I will start July with my Pinker and Pumpkin Saltbox, and my selection for July is Sarah Jane's 1776 Saltbox. So I do have the cloth dyed for that, and I have the colors selected. So if you, I'll put a picture here of what Sarah Jane's Saltbox looks like, but here are the Anchor Floss colors that I chose. And I'll put a list of these colors either in the description box or maybe I'll just wait and put it on Instagram or something later on. But basically I just chose a red and a white and a blue and a couple tans. But my cloth, so excited. This is my cloth and I did dye this myself. It's still a little wrinkled because I haven't ironed it yet. I haven't pressed it yet. I just used Evening Blue and it is on the Antique White 28 count Lugana. And I will be stitching 2/2, and I'm super excited about this. Now, Melissa stitched hers on like a tea-stained cloth, So I made sure the blue that I chose for this is a really dark, vibrant blue, or else my flag wouldn't show up very well. So I chose a real vibrant blue. In fact, I'm using the same red, white, and blue that I used on the Quilters, American Quilters cross stitch. So, and for this cloth, I basically just got it wet, scrunched it up in a little dish. And well, actually I got it wet, scrunched it up, set it to the side, put some dye and some hot water into a dish, threw this in there and let it sit for about 10 to 12 minutes, and then just rinsed it out really well, smoothed it out on a towel and let it dry. And I got some really cool marbling, so I'm super excited about how this is gonna look when my Saltbox is stitched up on there. So that is how I'm gonna start July. And then the rest of July, I am going to focus on Autumn Love, except for getting the Peppermint, the houses on Peppermint Lane like caught up and current. So I'll make sure that I have the Pinwheel house finished. So I'll do Sarah Jane's Saltbox and the Pinwheel house, and then I'm gonna stitch Autumn Love, and that's all I'm gonna stitch until the end of July, which is like July 26th, yeah, when I will start the 7th of the 9 houses of Peppermint Lane. So July is monogamous for me. I will be focusing on Autumn Love and trying to get some really good progress on that. I don't know if I'll have it finished by the end of July, but definitely gonna try to make some serious progress on that stitch. So I've talked about a few other stitch alongs that are coming up, and I just wanted to give you some updates on my plans and decisions on those. Stitchonomy did release their frame yesterday for the Kingdoms of Life stitch along that they're doing. That is a free stitch along. If you didn't sign up by June 16th though, you missed out, and I'm so sorry. But you can join their pattern club and still get the patterns and stitch along with them. But I am going to be collecting patterns for that stitch along. I might kit it up, I might not. At this point, I think I'm just going to collect the patterns and see what the end result looks like, and then decide if I really want to stitch that or not. I do have a friend that I think she's going to stitch along, and I'm super excited to see what her stitch is going to look like. So that'd be fun to, watch everyone else stitch along with it, even though I'm not. And then Fat Quarter Shop is hosting 2 free stitch alongs this summer. One of them is in progress already for the Haunted Halloween. I do have the quilt kitted up for that. I don't have the cross stitch kitted up though, and I really don't think that I'm gonna do that one. They've released 3 of the 4 patterns for that stitch along, and it's a very cute stitch. I love it. But I think I'm at my max on Halloween decorations at this point. Of course for the quilt, except for the quilt that I've kitted up and I'm probably gonna make. So anyway, I don't think I'm gonna be doing the Haunted Halloween stitch along. And then they do have another one coming up in July called Evergreen, and it's a Christmas themed stitch along. It's also free. And I'll put a link below to both of these stitch alongs. I don't know, I'm thinking about this one. I just need to kind of think about how much Christmas stuff I already have, and if I really want to stitch another Christmas thing, and if I do, what I'm gonna do with it. So that's kind of where I'm at with the stitch alongs that I've been mentioning or talking about in the last couple of months, couple of Flosstubes, and the decisions that I've made on those. Okay, so if you're here for stitching, I am so glad that you joined me, and if you do not care about the quilting part of my world, then I am not going to be offended, and you are more than welcome to click off, and I will see you next time. Happy stitching. If you want to hear about my quilting, then stick around for a moment. I'm going to swap this around and show you one quilt that I finished and then tell you about a few more. Okay, so I still need to move my brackets on the wall because my the quilt that I had up there before was a little narrower than this one, but this is the Sewcialities 2 quilt along. This is the one where I took one of the blocks and I basically blew it up a lot to make that center star. I absolutely love stars so much. So I took one of the patterns and I increased the size. I actually used the 12-inch block size and increased it to a 24-inch block. And I think it's the Christmas star, if I remember correctly. I think that's the one that it was called. I think that's what it was called. So anyway, I increased the size, and it's in the middle of the quilt, and then I used all of the 6-inch blocks to go around the quilt. And if you start in the upper left and go around in a clockwise motion, then they should be in the order that they were completed in the stitch along, so that quilt along. So that's super fun. I quilted this a few weekends ago at my brother's on his Bernina Q24 long arm. I did do a free motion quilting pattern on it. I have this quilting pattern that I use that's really just kind of like a really loose, large rose with leaves. And that's what I basically did all over this quilt from edge to edge. I'll try to zoom in and see if you can see it a little better. So there you go. You can kind of see the rose, the loose interpretation of a rose and leaf pattern. And I really did just do, I said edge to edge, but it was just really kind of an all over. There isn't like a repeating pattern or anything in it. I do all of this custom and freehand on his long arm, and I absolutely love how this quilt turned out. Okay, so in addition to the Sewcialities quilt that I just showed you, I also quilted 5 other quilts. One of them I can't show you because I was a pattern tester, but the other 4 I'll insert pictures here. I did, when I went to retreat in February, we had a mystery block, and this is the quilt that I created. I actually won the set of mystery blocks at retreat. I was super excited about that. This is kind of like a peony or a flower block, and this is my own setting. I just decided this is how I wanted to set it together. So this is the first quilt that I finished. And this quilt, I was kind of playing with the quilting design on this one. I am happy how it turned out. So that was kind of fun to get this one completed. I also did 2 Moda Love charm quilts, and I'll put those in here just one after another. I did both of those quilt tops at retreat as well. Really, you know, I laid the pattern down beside me, and I had my pieces cut and pressed and ready, and I pretty much did this like a grid, chained pieced it, and I just kept going with all the rows and chain pieced it together and sewed it together. And I think it probably took around 2 hours to put each of the quilt tops together with the borders. It's a pretty simple and easy design to keep up with when you're quilting. So if you haven't looked for the Moda Love quilt tops, then check those out, because they have one for each of the pre-cut size. So this is, I think it's a 45-inch quilt. They have a larger one that you use layer cakes to do. This one was with the 5-inch charm packs. So those are the 2. I have the 2 charm pack, or the 2 Moda Love quilts, the Sewcialities, I'm so sorry, the mystery flower quilt, and finally I also did the Swoon block, which this is a ThimbleBlossoms pattern. They have different patterns for this, different sizes of the blocks. Basically, they have the original, which this is the original, and then they have the Swoon 16 and the single Swoon or something like that. It's just like one great big star block. And then they also have like a checkerboard one that's really cool looking. So this is my Swoon block quilt, and these fabrics are Tim Holt's Eclectic Elements, and the background is it's also a Moda. It's like a hit the spot or hit the dot or something like that for the background fabric. So I posted pictures of these on Facebook for sure in my Quilts 2023 album, which is public, so you can go check those out if you want more details about those quilts. And I don't remember if I posted them on Instagram yet. I think I was saving that until after the Flosstube tonight. So those are the quilts that I can show you that I completed in a couple weeks ago at my brother's. So that's kind of where I'm at. I am working on the Sew Simple Shapes, so let me show you that. Okay, so I had lots of comments and questions about the Sew Simple Shapes quilt that I'm working on last time, so let me give you a little more information about that. This is Lori Holt's Sew Simple Shapes series quilt and her Sew Simple Shapes mini remix. So basically what I'm doing is she has 20 blocks in each of those quilt patterns. And so what I did was I went through and I chose 15 that I liked. And so I did 15 big ones and 15 little ones. The 15 smaller blocks are 6.5 unfinished, and I will be putting those as a center of an 8-point star. So then they will also finish at 12 inch, and they'll be unfinished at 12.5 inch blocks, just like the larger ones. Then what I'm going to do in the quilt is I'm going to alternate them and do, you know, like the star and then a 12.5 inch and a star and a 12.5 inch, and repeat all of those rows in my design throughout the entire quilt top. I do have a couple borders, outer borders, that I'll be adding onto it just to get it big enough. And then eventually this will be all put into a king size quilt. So that is what I've been working on in my quilting lately, just getting those finished up. And in fact, I just finished up the last of the 15 mini remix blocks today. So this is brand new on the design board, and I finished the blocks, and I've cut out the pieces to make all of the flying geese to do the 8-point stars. And so hopefully next time I'll be able to show you some of the 8-point stars, if not a quilt top. We'll see how it goes and how far I get. Once I get the So Simple Shapes remix quilt together, I do have other things that I'm planning to quilt this summer. So the first one is the Bee Vintage Quilt Along, which begins July 10th. So that's kind of like my deadline to get the So Simple Shapes done, because I'm like, ooh, the Bee Vintage is coming up and I need to get this one done because it's also applique. So I want to get this one completed before that one begins, so I'm not doing 2 applique quilts at the same time. But with that being said, my other quilt on the radar is the Farmhouse Star, because I do have all the fabrics for it now and I have it kitted up. So I do plan on getting the Farmhouse Star quilt started this summer as well. So that's kind of my quilting plans. If that's the only reason you're here, then I'll see you next time. Otherwise, I have a couple things to share that are just fun things and a life update. So, okay, so life update, I guess. I went to the Kansas City Regional Quilt Festival this last Friday, and it was an amazing quilt show. If you're ever in the area when they're having this quilt show and you have the opportunity to attend, I highly recommend it. They collaborate. There's like 12 guilds, I believe, that collaborates together to put on this quilt show at the Overland Park Convention Center, and it is amazing. The quilters in those guilds are super talented. Obviously, they're putting their best quilts in the show for everyone to see, but their best quilts are so good. And I really encourage you to go to that quilt show if you get the opportunity. It is amazing. So they do this every other year. So you're going to have to wait until 2025, but that's okay because you can plan ahead that way. They do offer classes during the days as well. This year it was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I went on Friday. The parking lot was extremely full, but it wasn't like overly crowded inside. I mean, there were definitely people and it was crowded, but I never felt like, trapped or really like so close with somebody that I felt like, uncomfortable. But they had tons of vendors, including Clover. So Clover had a booth there with some of their representatives. And so I was able to get the fabric tube maker, which I saw this on a couple YouTube channels, and I checked online and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, oh man. So there was a first booth that I saw. And so I kind of jokingly asked them, do you happen to have any of your new tube makers? And they're like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I bought one of those, super excited about that. And then I found, this is so funny, such a small world. I was walking around and I saw these super cute wooden seam rippers and stylists, which I have one of those. My husband got me one over a year ago, but they also have needle holders. So I bought a needle case that matches my zipper or my seam ripper and stylus. So this is going to be super fun to just put some of my needles in. So I have them when I'm taking my cross stitch and things with me, out into the world. So that's fun. The other thing that I bought was this cute little pattern from the Cottage Rose, and it's Deb Eggers. It's a pattern original called Owl Friends. And this was a very low cost pattern, you guys. And they had the little owl pin cushions, or little owl friends, sitting around their booth, and they were so super cute. And I did ask them, I was like, okay, so do I have to use wool to make these? And they're like, no, absolutely not. You can make these with quilting cotton. So that is my plan, to make a bunch of little owl friends with quilting cotton. And hopefully I will have some of those to give away to some friends and maybe some viewers. So stay tuned for that. I'm super, super excited about these cute little owl friends. All right, so that's my fun stuff. Couple other things that I've done since last time. So I got in trouble with our friends because I did not mention that we do game night pretty much every Friday and Saturday night with our neighbors who have quickly become our like best friends, they're our best couple friend. So they come over for game night, or we go there for dinner and then game night, or however we get together for game night. So I've had game night a few times since the last time we talked, and it was a lot of fun, and they're, just great people to hang out with. So that's super fun. The other thing that I've done is I met up with my mother-in-law at her house, and we made some cards for Cubs, which is a nonprofit group in Texas that they collect greeting cards, birthday and encouragement cards for foster kids. And basically foster care agencies contact them and ask them for our cards, and then they are able to send them some handmade cards. So she and I got together yesterday and made 60 handmade cards in a matter of about 4 hours. So that was super fun, and I can't wait to get the envelopes so I can send those off to the appropriate place too. The other thing that I've been doing a lot with, and that's probably because where all of my time has gone that hasn't been spent on cross-stitching and quilting, is I was elected the CEO of my local quilting guild, Boone Slick Trail Quilters Guild, here in Columbia, Missouri. So the last couple of weeks I have had a crash course on all things guild related, and it's been super fun. I've been getting to know the other board members a lot better and just kind of working out our style. And we put together, I say we, but really our newsletter editor got our newsletter together, and we just proofed it today. And so we worked together getting that finalized and off to the printer. So it's been a lot of fun kind of getting back into the routine of being on the board for the Quilting Guild. I did the newsletter a few years ago, so it's not like my first time on the board or anything, but definitely the first time as CEO, and the first time being kind of like the go-to person to answer all the questions and make decisions. I'm very thankful to have some experienced guild members on the board with us that can lead and guide us along the way. And then I'm also so happy that I've been able to connect with some other guild members that just have the experience and knowledge needed to run the guild well this next year. So so it's been a lot of fun. It's honestly been, not like a ton of work, but it has been some work just to catch up. So it has cut into my cross stitch time and my quilting time a little bit, but things will be, easing back down a little bit. And I know that I'll be spending more time stitching and quilting. So, keeping it all in balance. So that's really all I have for this evening. Just because I didn't announce it at the beginning, this is Flosstube 35. It is July 20th of 2023, and I am so glad you joined me. I hope that I didn't bore you to tears. If you saw something that you really liked and you want more information, feel free to leave me a comment or drop me an email, and I will respond as quickly as I can. I hope you have some time to spend it some stitching and some quilting, or however you need to relax the next couple of weeks. And until then, I will see you next time, and happy stitching.